after a whole year of no announcements, we finally got some news on Pokemon Legends EA. However, I am writing the script before Pokemon Day, so I actually don't know what's up. Hey, Future Nork here, and I'll be popping in during the video with relevant info for the latest presents, which honestly didn't affect the script that much. Still, I believe that this is the perfect time to make Legends EA predictions, as the actual Pokemon of the game should be finalized internally, and it seems unlikely that Pokemon would have a French-inspired region again after this game. So I cooked up 3+ designs for you today, as we discuss what regional Pokemon we should expect in Legends EA. To start things off, I want to mention that this game is only the second Legends game that we've ever seen. Thus, a lot of predictions are dependent on one example, Legends Arceus. It's important to realize that a lot of things can change from this one game, but we've got to work with what we got. And in Legends Arceus, we've got a lot of regional forms. Of the 26+ new designs in the game, every single one of them is directly related to a previous species. But it's always important to ask why. Well, despite the changes to the gameplay, Legends Arceus had an emphasis towards appealing to an older fanbase, where characters and areas were callbacks to elements of previous game titles, with more attention on Pokemon's 4th generation. This is justified narratively as Legends Arceus takes place in Sinnoh's past, but taking a step back, Pokemon Generations often introduced a new region and then revisited an older game with a remake that sometimes held additional content. In Gen 8, Legends Arceus served the role of the latter, attempting to satisfy the fans of Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum with a new game that takes place in Hisui, the same geographical area as Gen 4 Sinnoh. That's why every Gen 4 Pokemon is available in this game, even if it doesn't make immediate sense. They had to make it work through time distortions. To be thorough, yes, there were also Gen 4 remakes, with Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl being released right before Legends Arceus, which acted more like remasters, as they were a beat-for-beat retelling of the old game's plot, just with updated battles. These games may have served the role of reminding people of the Gen 4 region and characters before they dove into Legends Arceus, but it's weird how we haven't heard of a Gen 6 remake yet before the release of Legends EA. Even after the presents, there's no XY remake to be seen. Maybe Pokemon expects most people to know this decade-old game, or maybe they're wary of the criticisms they got from Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. Either way, as Legends EA also takes the role of revisiting an earlier area, I do expect the new designs to have some variant of species that we already know. The most common variant in Legends Arceus was a regional form, where a Pokemon species adapted to a different climate. However, Legends EA has a few more options other than regional forms to reference older lines, namely with Mega Evolutions and with the newly introduced trope of lookalike or convergent Pokemon. I've had videos talking about Megas and Convergence before, so let's just talk about regionals today. Even though you meet these much later in the game, the first regionals listed in Legends Arceus are the starters, which makes sense as there's a new trio now. Yet each of these are still old Pokemon, so you know what they grow up into. So to offer a surprise, the final stage ended up with a new regional design. Now, I actually don't know if they would choose a different trio of starters again for Legends EA, but if so, we will probably have new regional forms for the final stages as well. Now, since we know that there's a unique starter set for ZA, I do think we'll get regionals of Meganium, Emboar, and Feraligatr, as they can now adapt to Kalos. I mean, I guess there's a chance that they could evolve normally, but now they get access to a new Mega Evolution, but talking about the starters could be its own video. So let's actually look at the other end of the new Pokemon from Legends Arceus. Not quite the legendaries, but the pseudo-legendary. Yes, Legends Arceus had a Hisuian, Sliggoo, and Goodra. We've seen these powerhouse Pokemon get some special love many times in the past, from Mega Evolutions, though they don't really need them, to Paradox Pokemon. The 600 Club is a powerful group characterized by how much of a grind you need to achieve some of the strongest species of the games. I do think it's possible for Legends EA to give something new to a pseudo-legendary, but many of them already have Mega Evolutions, which are presumed to be available in the game. So even if a new pseudo gets a Mega, I don't know how special that would be compared to the others. What if they get a regional form instead? I won't lie, I'd love to give Dragonite a Mega Stone called Dragonite, but it just fits so well with the French legendary dragon, the Tarrasque, with one R. The Tarrasque was said to have terrorized a French village, but they've been tamed by Saint Martha only to be stoned by the villagers. Whilst also being depicted as a conglomerate of several animals, the poisonous breath stood out to make a good dragon poison type. The orbs from Dragonair have festered into a toxic orb, as they grew a shell of poisonous spines instead of wings to better fend off against the plethora of fairy types in Kalos. Now, I should probably make a Lumiose and Dragonair to offer a smoother transition, like what Hisui and Sliggoo did, but then again, Cantoni and Dragonite is already a big jump from Dragonair. So regionals weren't the only kind of variants in Legends Arceus, for there were also new evolutions. I know that this doesn't sound related to regional forms, but there's something different here. New evolutions have been a thing in Pokemon ever since Gen 2, with a resurgence of them in the latest set of games, Scarlet and Violet, which actually had more new evolutions than regional forms. This trope is often seen as a permanent addition to that Pokemon's family, as opposed to the regionals who are more dependent on the region they were introduced with, thus it takes DLCs or special interactions to get them in later games. Of the 3 evolutions in Legends Arceus, unlike the previous new evolutions, they weren't readily available in Scarlet and Violet despite their pre-evolutions being in the game. There was no Black Augurite or Peat Block in this Paldea region, and even if you got Stantler to do 20 Side Shield bashes somehow, they wouldn't evolve as they're not the right style. These requirements have been made to lock these new evolutions within Legends Arceus, similar to regional forms, as you could only bring these to Gen 9's Paldea if you bought that other game or Gen 9's DLC, much to competitors' dismay. Thus, I think that the new evolutions of Legends ZA will probably be locked in this game as well. I don't know if they'll continue the strong agile style, but future me would know. Maybe. Hopefully. Actually, it's unclear whether the styles are coming back, but it seems unlikely, as the battles now take place in real time instead of being turn-based. Maybe the new evolution should require using the move in this real-time state, or maybe, since the game doesn't take place in the past, any new evolution wouldn't be exclusive to Legends ZA. Something I forgot to mention so far is that all the variants in Legends Arceus, except for the final legendaries, weren't variants of Gen 4 Pokemon. Guess it makes sense, right? Their area is geographically Sinnoh, so these Pokemon weren't adjusting to a new environment, as they're just native there. In fact, most Pokemon that were introduced after Gen 4 also weren't in the game unless they were tied to a new design. I can see this happening with Legends ZA and Generation 6, where Pokemon from Gen 7 and on would only exist if they have something new in the game. Now, I do think Gen 6 Pokemon have a chance of getting some new Mega Evolutions, as only Diancie from that generation has one so far, but with regionals and new evolutions being about adaptations, I think it's hard to imagine a Kalos Pokemon changing radically just by going to Kalos' Lumio City. Not impossible, especially depending on when the game takes place, but I highly doubt it. This would be a perfect opportunity for me to share a new evolution of Pokemon that was introduced after Gen 6, but alas, I chose Gen 5's Vanillish. It was between them or Alcremie. But see, the concept I wanted to draw here was Les Dames Blanches, who are female spirits that haunt the caves in northern France. Now the Dame Blanche is also a Belgian ice cream dessert with a chocolate drizzle. I wanted this to be an ice ghost type, and the Vanillite line was closer to accomplish just that. So here's Vanillange. Their chocolate hair is actually a thick extract of souls that they've claimed from unprepared visitors of the Frost Caverns. I'm sorry, that's pretty dark. To evolve this, Vanillish would get access to a new ghost move that would need to be repeated 20 times in a specific style. I could have had a regional Vanillish that evolves into this, but wait, that's no longer just a new evolution. That would have been a regional evolution. So yeah, this is a thing since Gen 8, where regional forms were given new evolutions. Sometimes they furthered the line, sometimes there were branches. Legends Arceus had 3 regional evolutions, and Scarlet Violet would have only 1. I do expect 1 or 2 lines in Legends ZA to follow this trope, but again, I should choose from a Pokemon that's not from Gen 6. That's when I remembered. Ride Pokemon. Legends Arceus gave special emphasis to their new Pokemon by making them boss battles or be rideable. Now, Gen 6's Go-Goat seems a bit too perfect to not ride in this generation, that's why I gave them a Mega last time. But would every mode of traversal be a Mega evolution? See, in Legends Arceus there was running on the ground, digging, that's ground again, swimming, climbing, and flying. And while a Mega Talonflame can easily let you fly, you can't help but notice that there's a part of French history with air travel. Alberto Santos Dumont was a Brazilian inventor who sailed around the Eiffel Tower multiple times with multiple airships, including Santos Dumont number 6, a hydrogen-powered balloon. Its hydrogen is naturally lighter than air. Santos Dumont would later go on to become a popular pioneering aviator, but let's focus on the balloon. Because before that, in 1783, French brothers Joseph Michel Montgolfier and Jacques-Étienne Montgolfier would design a hot air balloon that can transport people, the first of its kind. So unlike hydrogen balloons, which require a specific lighter-than-air hydrogen to generate lift, hot air balloons work by just heating the air. Hotter air is less dense, as the air molecules are moving faster apart from each other, which makes it lighter than the surrounding air. If you trap that rising lighter air, you can generate lift. That's why Drifblim's line has a flare boost ability, by the way. And speaking of, here's a Lumiosian Drifblim, colored like Montgolfier's hot air balloon. I decided to make the designs fairy flying due to their relatively helpful nature of regularly transporting people throughout the city and also having a fashionable hat. Other than the mushroom hat fashion statement, this cloud hat is referencing lenticular clouds, which form from moist air flowing over mountains and making waves. I'll link videos in the descriptions that cover this phenomenon with more detail. So I had this Drifblim evolve into a Santos Dumont number 6 inspired evolution called Drifigivel, named after the Portuguese term of airship, as Santos Dumont was Brazilian. Now, the cloud here is more of a cap cloud, which is apparently formed on top of other clouds that get hit with an updraft, but the other main concept I had here was that it was shaped like the Portuguese man o' war, in contrast to how hot air balloons look like jellyfish. I don't know, I always thought that Drifblim was a Pokemon that needed an evolution or something new, considering just how much smaller they were than I expected. So, we've covered what to expect from the regionals trope in Legends ZA. Honestly, I do think there will be way fewer regionals this time around, as a lot of the roster might be filled with megas, and even the new lookalike trope. Depending on how this video goes and what I saw in the Pokemon Presents, I might make one more Z8 prediction video before we can finally make comparisons when the game actually comes out. Oh, that's gonna be fun. If you like my drawings and or my way of thinking, subscribe to the channel. I've actually been working on my own creature collector for the past few years, and I've been coding away at it behind the scenes, but in the meantime, I have several playlists that go over my past designs and thoughts. Firstly, thank you to my Patreon patrons for the direct support to my channel and project, and thank you for watching till the end. Whew. Future me is going to have a doozy editing this video. Actually, it wasn't that bad. But using my prediction powers, it appears that you will have a nice day today. Alright, have a nice one. Till next time.